Discover the captivating life of Princess Anne, Princess Royal. Born in 1709, she came into a world characterized by family discord. Join me as I trace her path through political skirmishes, the trials of matrimony, and her leadership as the Stadholder of the Netherlands. She was truly an extraordinary woman, overcoming challenges to lay the foundation for the Dutch royal family. Anne's dysfunctional family. In May 1709, Princess Anne entered the world, a member of what many today would label a dysfunctional family. Anne was indeed an exceptional individual, but she was not perfect. Contemporary writers both criticized her for perceived arrogance and lauded her for her significant achievements. Anne's birthplace was the Grand Herrenhausen Palace in Hanover. This was a mere 5 years before her paternal grandfather, Elector George Louis, would ascend to the British throne, taking the title George I. However, the relationship between Anne's parents and King George I was fraught with tension. Her mother, Caroline of Ansbach, had a unique upbringing in the Prussian court. Here, she was nurtured almost as if she were their own daughter, and was bestowed with a rich education. This poses the question: how much did her early experiences, especially witnessing the uncouth and sometimes savage nature of the Hanoverian court, shape her later aversion to George I once in England? Many speculate about the depths of Caroline's suspicions. Did she believe that her father-in-law played a hand in the demise of her mother-in-law's lover? Was she in agreement with her husband's wish to liberate his mother from her confinement at Alden? Whatever the reasons, it's undeniable that the relationship was strained. In 1714, marking their disapproval, Anne's parents departed Hanover, never to return. Political differences. Tensions due to political disagreements between father and son, George I and Prince George, began to manifest in the Hanoverian court during the late 1710s. However, these disputes didn't remain confined to Hanover. They made their way to the British court, and reached a dramatic climax after the birth of Prince George and Caroline's second son, Prince George William, in 1717. During the young prince's christening, Anne's father upset the Duke of Newcastle. His act of disrespect was so severe that it incensed the king, who promptly evicted his son and daughter-in-law from their home in the esteemed St. James's Palace. To make matters worse, King George decided to keep their children, Anne included, under his protection at Leicester House. However, by 1720, a semblance of reconciliation began to emerge. Anne's brothers were allowed to return to their parents' care, but Anne and her sisters remained under her grandfather, the king's, watchful eyes. Princess Anne's battle with smallpox. In the year 1720, Princess Anne faced a formidable adversary, smallpox. During the latter part of the 18th century, this deadly disease was responsible for taking the lives of an estimated 400,000 Europeans a year. Luckily, Anne survived relatively unscarred. Having brushed with death herself and knowing her parents' own struggles with the disease early in their marriage, Anne became an advocate for the new practice of variolation. She championed her mother's endeavors to explore this early method of immunization against smallpox. The adoption and observation of this practice were notably documented by Lady Mary Wortley Montagu and Charles Maitland during their time in Constantinople. Caroline and Anne use human guinea pigs. Under the guidance of her mother, Queen Caroline, an unconventional proposal was extended to 6 prisoners who were facing the gallows. In lieu of execution, they were presented with an opportunity to undergo variolation, a groundbreaking procedure in the realm of 18th century monarchy. All the prisoners accepted this proposition, and remarkably, they all survived. Pushing forward with this experimentation, 6 orphans were also administered the treatment. They, too, survived. It's worth noting that during this era, medical ethics committees were non-existent. Convinced of the safety and potential of variolation, Queen Caroline made a bold move. She had her 2 younger daughters, Amelia and Caroline, inoculated. This royal endorsement significantly boosted the procedure's prestige. leading to a surge in demand for inoculation, especially among the aristocracy. The family feud persists. On the 22nd of June, 1727, King George I passed away while in Germany, leading Princess Anne's father to ascend to the throne. The subsequent year witnessed the return of her elder brother, Frederick, to England. Educated in Germany, he had not laid eyes on his father for a staggering 14 years. Their reunion, however, was far from joyous. Sparks flew, and their relationship turned out to be even more volatile than the tumultuous bond between George I and George II. This rift deepened after 1733, when Frederick acquired Carlton House. To George II, his son's purchase seemed like the establishment of an alternative court, right under his nose. Princess Anne's quest for matrimony. As a daughter destined to be part of the British monarchy, Anne's marriage was bound to be based on dynastic considerations. Given her stature and the need for a Protestant union, her choices were sparse. The government proposed a match with William, Prince of Orange-Nassau, albeit his status was somewhat humble. This alliance was perceived as a strategy to fortify Britain's stance against France. However, this proposal was met with skepticism. King George II was not particularly fond of it. Anne harbored reservations too, chiefly because Prince William was known to have a physical deformity. She demanded to know just how deformed he was and sent Lord Hervey, a trusted aide, to gauge the severity of William's condition. Hervey reported that although William was no Adonis, and his body was as bad as possible, he had a pleasing face. William suffered from a pronounced curvature of the spine, probably the result of sclerosis like the English King Richard III. Despite his deformity and the inferiority of his territory, Anne decided she would take him. She was already 25 years old and did not want to end up an old maid surrounded by her warring relatives. When they married in 1734, her mother and sisters wept through the ceremony. Lord Hervey, who attended the wedding, described the marriage as more sacrifice than celebration. Princess Anne's union with William, Prince of Orange-Nassau. Marriage meant leaving England for life in the Netherlands. Despite her royal stature, Anne, as a British national, struggled to find acceptance in her new homeland. Her days were often clouded with loneliness, exacerbated by a strained relationship with her mother-in-law and her husband's frequent absences. William embarked on a series of military campaigns defending the territories of the Dutch Republic almost as soon as he returned to The Hague. Amidst this solitude, Anne sought solace in the arts. She became a proficient harpsichord player and a gifted artist. Moreover, her bond with her music instructor, the renowned George Frederick Handel, flourished into a lifelong friendship. Challenges in motherhood. Becoming a mother presented its own set of challenges for Princess Anne. Heartbreakingly, she experienced the loss of two stillborn daughters, one in 1736 and another in 1739. Joy finally arrived in 1743 with the birth of Princess Carolina of Orange-Nassau. This happiness was soon doubled with the arrival of Princess Anna 2 years thereafter. Her family was then completed in 1748 with the birth of her only son, when Anne was aged 39. But, tragedy struck again, in 1751, when her husband passed away at just 40. Anne found herself entrusted with the responsibility of guiding her young 3-year-old son, Prince William V, as the appointed regent. The widowhood of Princess Anne. In her new role as regent, Anne was endowed with all the powers and privileges typically associated with a hereditary Stadholder of the Netherlands. However, the military responsibilities tied to the position were delegated to Duke Louis Ernest of Brunswick-Lüneburg. To say that she took to the role like a duck to water would not be an exaggeration. Finally free to exercise some power. In true Hanoverian style, Anne used her wit and her determination to secure her personal power base, and with it the dominance of her family and the House of Orange. Anne was hard-working, but she remained unpopular. The commercial rivalry between the Dutch and the British East India Companies was part of the cause. Another reason was the constitution of the United Provinces. But what made her most unpopular was that she seized the opportunity to centralize power in the office of the hereditary Stadholder over the traditional rights of the Dutch states, particularly the state of Haarlem. Her foreign policy was also a source of vexation for the Dutch, as she favored a British-German alliance over an alliance with the French. She continued as regent until her death in 1759. The poor woman died of edema, a condition of fluid retention, called dropsy. Despite her exceptional skills and talents, Anne's influence was often limited by the societal norms of her time, compelling her to rely on the men in her life. Alone, even with her vast capabilities, Anne couldn't fulfill every aspiration of the House of Orange. She steered the Netherlands for a period of 8 years, but was claimed by dropsy in 1759, leaving behind a 12-year-old son. Following her demise, the regency was taken up by her mother-in-law, Marie-Louise of Hesse-Kassel. And after her passing in 1765, the mantle of leadership shifted to Anne's daughter, Carolina, until William V reached adulthood in 1766. Princess Anne's life was a testament to resilience. Even when smallpox marred her renowned beauty, she approached life with undiminished vigor. It's conceivable that she captured her best essence in her self-portrait. Embracing a marriage that, at its outset, promised minimal personal joy, she crafted a successful union. Anne was a beacon of intellect, albeit with a touch of pride. Her life was punctuated with moments of intense solitude, the sorrow of 2 stillborn children, and the solitude of widowhood. Yet, as the Stadholder, she proved her mettle, steering the Dutch Republic with as much prowess as any male counterpart. It was she who set the stage for the Dutch royal lineage. And it culminated with her grandson, William I, ascending as the inaugural King of the Netherlands in 1815. The tales of history and the legacies they leave are as enchanting as they are instructive. Princess Anne's story is but one of many that mold our understanding of the past and inspire our visions for the future. If you've enjoyed journeying through time with us and wish to unravel more captivating stories, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Together, let's keep history alive. Until next time.